Hi math friends, today we're going to check out our review for the Pythagorean theorem. Alright, so first we get started with some basic ones, the length of the unknown side. So remember we're going to use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. To find out which one is c, we take the right angle. And a and b don't matter, we could do them in either order. C is the one that matters. But I need to go ahead and substitute here. And then I need to go ahead and work these out. So if I do 17 times 17, I get 289. 4 squared, 16. Remember here I need to subtract. Minus 16 on both sides. X squared equals 273 when I go ahead and square root. And the directions here say to round to the nearest tenth, so this is for the entire review here, I believe. So we get x equals 16.5 when we round. All right, let's check out the next one. Same idea, except this time we're solving for c. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I have a and b. 12 squared plus 16 squared equals c squared. And when I do these, I can use my calculator, or if you have them memorized, you can do them too. So then I get 400. If I square root this, I end up with 20 equals c. Now this one I don't have to round because it ends up being exactly the whole number 20. Alright, this one at the bottom says determine which of these are right triangles. So does the Pythagorean theorem work for these? Well, let's try it out. Between all three of those, C would have to be the longest one. Let's see if this works. Okay, 2 squared I get 4, 3 squared I get 9. I'm going to draw these arrows here so that it's obvious as to what goes where. Right, and then I have to do 4 plus 9, I get 13. 13 is not the same as 16, so this is not a right triangle. All right, next one, we're going to try this one out. C would be the longest side, so I'm going to do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Does this work? So when I square these, I get 49, 576, and 625. Put those together. This is 625. This side is 625. Is that equal? Yes. So we say yes. This is a right triangle. Okay. And since our original prompt is determine which are right triangles, I'm going to go ahead and circle this letter B here. This would be the same thing as a multiple select that you're doing on a computer-based program too. Next up, longest side would be C. 5 squared, 12 squared, 13 squared. Let's see if it works. So I get 144. All right. I'm going to add those together. I get 169. Does it work? It does. So we can say yes. This is a right triangle. Okay, last one, which one would be C? It would be this one. So let's go ahead and see if this works. 9 squared plus 7 squared equals 16 squared. I get 81. I get 49. And I get 256. I'm thinking this may not work because these numbers are so much smaller. But if we add them together, we do get 130. And that is not true, so not a right triangle. All right, let's check out the word problem one, and it's important to read these really carefully. So the first one for our word problem says, Brianna is planting a tree. The garden center recommended she stabilize the tree with wires for the first few months after planting. Brianna needs to place the wires 13 feet up the trunk of the tree and 4 feet from the base. Draw a picture that represents this scenario. So I'm going to use my awesome drawing abilities to draw a tree. Okay. And now she needs to place a wire 13 feet up the trunk. So if I go straight up, here's 13 feet, and it needs to be 4 feet from the base. Okay, so the wire is going like that, and then I have this other part here. Now, I'm noticing here that my 13 is kind of ambiguous here, so I'm actually going to draw this triangle over here just to make sure I'm being very clear that the 4 feet is here and the 13 feet is on the side. All right, if we make any little mistakes, feel free to erase or make a little zoom in like I did there too. And notice this says draw a picture that represents this scenario. It doesn't say solve for the missing value. Number 2, an airplane is flying directly over your house. The distance between your house and the airport is 17 miles. The altitude or height of the airplane is 5.5 miles. Determine the distance between the airplane and the airport. All right, so an airplane is flying directly over your house. I'm going to draw a generic house. And here's a plane. All right. And it says the distance between your house and the airport. So airport, I'm just going to draw this. The airport is 17 miles. So house to airport would be pretty much on flight ground, 17 miles. And the airplane is 5.5 above. So look at this. We end up having a right triangle. Because the question is, the prompt is determine the distance between the airplane and the airport. All right, so if I'm looking at this is C. So I got 5.5 squared plus 17 squared equals C squared. All right, so when I work that out, 5.5 squared is 30 1/4. 17 squared is 289. I have to add these. So I get 319 1/4 equals C squared. Now, the directions are to round to the nearest tenth, but we don't want to round until the very, very end. So I'll square root here, and I'll get C is 17.867. All right, so we're going to round this, and I'm also going to do a full sentence. We're going to say the airplane is 17.9 miles from the airport. I drew a picture, I did the equation, and we wrote a sentence for the end. Now, the very last one on this review, on this page for the review, if you read it carefully, it's going to be similar to number 1. You're mountain climbing. You see a cliff directly in front of you. The distance from your feet to the base of the cliff is 18 feet, and the distance from your feet to the top of the cliff is 31 feet. Draw a picture that demonstrates this scenario. So let's go ahead and draw a picture of this. Here's me. I see a cliff. I'm thinking something really high directly in front of me. Now that directly, that's my clue. Directly in front of me is 18 feet to the base. And then it says the distance from your feet to the top of the cliff, is 31 feet. So I think I made myself a little too tall here, but that's okay, because we can still work on it. Or maybe I didn't. Maybe we don't have to do anything with that except for have that picture drawn. All right, let's check out the last part of this review. So here we need to draw a picture, write the equation, and solve. You're helping your friend move furniture. You need to know the width, height, and diagonal of the front door frame. It is important when you're going into a place. The width of the door is 44 inches. Okay, so first I'm thinking of a door. Doors are typically rectangles. So the width is 44 inches, and the length of the diagonal, remember diagonal is going to be this one, is 102 inches. What is the height of the door frame? Well, if a door is a rectangle, I got these right angles. So this is going to be C. A squared plus B squared, we don't know what that is on this side, that's X, equals C squared. All right, let's go ahead and work that out then. 44 squared, 1,936. 102 squared, 10,404. And now I need to subtract to isolate the variable. I get x squared is 8,468. Square root, you get 92.0217. Now I'm going to round to the nearest tenth, and I also want a full sentence here, right? So we can say the height of the door frame is 92.0 inches. All right, the last two on here, I'm sure you can do just fine. We need to determine the distance between these points. When we find the distance between these points, we find out that it creates a diagonal. So best way to do that is to create a right triangle. I can go straight down and straight over. Why do I do that? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2. So now I know A, I know B, and we do not know C. 16 plus 4, C squared, add them together, square root, and here I end up with 4.47, but rounding to the nearest tenth, as they say, it's going to be 4.5 equals C. The very last one, same idea, distance between these points. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's see, oh, sorry, that's a 6 over here. All right, so I got A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I know it's 16, I know it's 36. C squared we don't know though, so add those together and I get 52. Square root. And I end up with 7.2111 equals C. Rounding to the nearest tenth, 7.2 equals C. So I hope that helps you. Go back and review whatever you need to on there, and you're going to do great.